Hey guys, hope you're doing well. I figured it's about time to start doing more individual reviews about my VeggieTales shows. My favorite ones, that is. And what better show to start off with than LarryBoy and the Fib from Outer Space. This is the piece of media that got me invested in not only VeggieTales as a brand, but it was basically my introduction to TV as a whole. You better believe I watched this one on repeat throughout my whole childhood. Also adulthood. So I have lots of thoughts and opinions on this show from very early on in the catalog. And with that being said, let's dive right in. I want to start talking about the design of the show first of all. This show looks so amazing. I know I've said this before in the past, but it's just crazy to think that this show came out during 1997, this one specifically, and it looks incredible. Big Idea was really putting an emphasis on the backgrounds and what the models looked like. Before in the past, they really stuck to more of a classic 3D or just a normal flat background, which there's nothing wrong with that, especially with the budget they had. But this is the show that stands out to me this far back in the catalog. I'm always gonna remember shots like this. The slow zoom into Bumbleberg, from matte painting and then cross-dissolve into the 3D geometric models of the buildings, all the gradient purples and pinks that give it a cold and spooky kind of glow. I also have to talk about the sound effects in this shot. The distant ambient sound of the ambulances and the blowing wind is what really cement this into a fully natural and believable world I can travel to. That and also the distant barking dog that adds the perfect cherry on top. The artistic design of this show is just off the chart. Look at those clouds, those purples, those pinks. It just looks so good. Also, this is the silhouette that cemented the fact that LarryBoy is the coolest superhero of all time, not up for discussion. I could actually go on and on about how awesome this show is just by a design point itself, but go watch yourself, you'll find out. Also, on a meta level, I think it's really fascinating of what Phil Vischer was doing with the show. He himself was a big fan of pop culture, but also a big fan of classic literature. And you could tell very much of what he was inspired by. It's always great seeing the creators fully acknowledge the inspirations of what brought the show before you, stated pretty on the nose by the characters themselves. A little bit of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, a little bit of Tim Burton's Batman, and a little bit of Monty Python sprinkled in for good measure. The characters in the show are also really good. Even though this script is meant for a kid-level basis, the writing is done so well, done on a relatable level for one, and also just understanding the characters of what their motivations are. Like, for example, Junior and Laura. I think it's actually really interesting seeing how Junior and Laura are just going about their day. They're not actively seeking trouble, or in this case, looking to lie just for the fun of it. It's only when Junior eventually breaks the plate and then feels compromised to lie to his dad. I think it's pretty smart since the creators of the show know their audience and they want to make sure that Junior can relate to kids who tend to feel this kind of temptation to lie when the time comes. Something a bit more meta to point out, but I think it's worth acknowledging. Even just the general characters of what the themes represent. Look at LarryBoy, for example. Even though I love this guy so much and I think he's awesome, you still gotta respect the creators for staying true to the morals of the story. The hero doesn't necessarily save the day or stop the threat in this story, as any other modern action movie would. The lesson still matters more to the folks at Big Idea rather than just producing a pure spectacle. I want to talk about our main antagonist for a second, the good old Fib from Outer Space. This character is done so well in such a fun way too. I want to analyze this character from his small point first. First of all, I love his introduction. Seeing just the twinkling stars with all the music faded out from the heroic theme to just a simple little blue and purple polka dotted thing landing on the street. It adds to the theme of how a small little white lie can seem small and innocent in the moment, but also how that same lie is still deceiving. I just love how the Fib comes off like a greedy salesman. As soon as Junior has a small problem he could have easily fixed by telling the truth, the Fib invades his space and tells him of a new and improved way how he can get off scot-free. He softens his approach by disguising as Mr. Snuggly, and then shows his true form once he has warmed up to Junior a tiny bit. Also, I love how the Fib sounds like he's from New Jersey, just adding to the fact that he's playing that crooked salesman type who is really only out for himself. And he's also kind of funny and a little sweet in the beginning. But I guess that's the point, playing into the whole lie perspective. And also, as a side note, to LarryBoy's credit, I can see how he thought the Fib looked like a messed up blueberry. But now, I have to talk about the very image that still scars me to this day. So when Junior tells the next lie, the Fib gets a bit bigger. And then, out of nowhere, we get the strangest angle of the weirdest smile I've ever seen in my life. And this is what we're presented with. That is the most horrifying angle of anything of anyone I've ever seen in my life. Even just the way he says little fib is so weird to me. I totally get that this is the point, but it's a little too weird. Just imagine if this was put in any other context. Why does it walk like that? It's like a weird blue hunched snowman that waddles around asking to be your little fib. I always wanted to know what the fib was doing in the alleyways as Junior was telling the lie, and I still want to know.
Hi, Junior.
Alright, I take it back. This is the most terrifying thing I've seen in my life. I mean, Phil Vischer really went out of his way to make sure that this is the most intense VeggieTales ever. I mean, I love it, don't get me wrong. But when I was 5 years old and I watched this scene for the first time, how do you not get absolutely mortified from this? The fib is full on mocking Junior as he laughs hysterically in his face. That and the insane men's choir that just goes full Danny Elfman to make this scene so crazy intense. Looking back as an adult, I think this is so cool. But if you're a little kid, I'm not sure you'll be okay after watching this. It's also really strange because the last episode that came out before this was the toy that saved Christmas. Yeah, that's quite the contrast, huh? There is also some fun questions I like to ask in my head about what the actual logistics are of the fib's plan. For example, the fib wants to be King Kong and he wants to climb to the top of the water tower. But that is a large step for this chunky alien to be making. Once again, I'm impressed. Also, how on earth is the fib supposed to make it up the water tower with this structural design? And him being, well, not exactly a physical specimen. And not only that, but the fib only has one hand to use since he has Junior in his left hand. So realistically speaking, we have a blue alien who's probably around 6,000 pounds of fat, who is especially bottom heavy, not much muscle on the arms, and is basically trying to American Ninja Warrior himself up on top with one hand. I know this kind of rests on cartoon logic because it's a cartoon, but this still confused me when I was young. Just imagine if the fib was like,
Okay, Junior, I'm gonna put you down for a second, but don't run away, because I need to work on my calisthenics.
Even when the fib is defeated, it's still played for laughs, but also done in a pretty serious way. I like how the fib literally starts deflating like a hot air balloon. I also like the touch of how the fib still stays in his humanoid form while getting smaller, rather than just going back to this, and then the messed up blueberry again. And I love the fib's reaction. It's like he goes,
Oh, no, you don't. Oh, drat.
But I need to talk about my all-time favorite superhero. The creation of LarryBoy is just such a fun idea to me. Obviously, looking through all the veggie characters, all of them are very lighthearted, plucky, and fun to be with. Larry the Cucumber is the epitome of all of that. He's a very silly character overall. But giving him a superhero identity is perfect because he's still the same character that we all know as Larry. He still has a very silly nature overall, but there's a deep gravitas he has when he's LarryBoy. Seeing Larry have this much confidence is all my 5-year-old brain needs. He'll just stand up to a gigantic monster and just shout out the facts to this big fat evil snowman with warts and tell him how it is. And yeah, I know the biggest complaint in this show is that LarryBoy does not stop the threat. And for one, that's not the point. And second, he's still so cool no matter what, so it's fine. There's actually some strangely funny moments with him though. Brought to you by Big Idea Kids, where LarryBoy thinks he might die. That he says explicitly. But anyway, I really want to talk about the music. Kurt Heinecke, who did all the music for all VeggieTales, also did this score, and it's incredible. Like I said, it's very much a homage to Danny Elfman and what he did with the Tim Burton Batman series, but man, it's a whole new thing. He can just create classic suspension with just the music. Just a couple of plucks on the stringed instruments, and that's what made you feel a little excited and also a little scared for what you're about to watch. Both LarryBoy and the Fib have their own distinct themes, and it sounds so good. You know what to think or feel in those scenes because they're so real with the music pumping in your ears. There's two distinct moments I really love throughout the whole score. This is my personal favorite part of the whole score, and I'm gonna do a quick mini breakdown of why I love it. When we are first introduced to the Fib in his small form, we get those jazzy Pink Panther notes, implying that something weird or sneaky is going on. But once we see the Fib in his biggest form, the cat's out of the bag. He is only here to cause chaos and fear, and the music perfectly represents that side of the Fib so well. Also, the second theme of the Fib has the men's choir and the big gothic score, which makes it feel so much bigger and scary. And this moment right here specifically is my favorite part because the Fib's theme is still played the same notes as usual. The hits of the crashes are different this time. It's playing more of a 1-2 rest beat, which really stands out to me because that's not the conventional theme we've heard before. This mix of the two instrument families really gives it more of a classic movie feel. It feels like something from a Hitchcock movie, and I absolutely love it. I'm a huge music fan and also movie fan, so let me know if you also love this score. Also, this is my favorite cue for the LarryBoy anthem. I feel like it's the most heroic out of all the renditions. I also think this musical cue hits a bit different because just before the heroic theme plays, before Larry lifts off the ground, we get a couple quick notes of the Fibs theme implying that our hero is in serious danger, only to have the LarryBoy theme overtake the Fibs theme as soon as the Larrymobile takes flight. It's such a great way of audio storytelling. It always gives me chills no matter how many times I watch it. This show just has no right to be this good. This is my favorite shot in the whole show. The pure speed of the wheels getting ejected and the body of the vehicle jumps a tiny bit, but then the wings come out catching itself in the air and goes up for the liftoff. Just barely skimming the ground, and the Larrymobile shoots into the purple and pink sky. This whole sequence is the absolute best, and there's a reason why Big Idea included the shot on the main intro theme. I think the only thing I have to nitpick in the show is just this. How does LarryBoy's main source of transportation not have any weapon systems? You know what? I'll just pretend that this is year 1 or 2 of LarryBoy being on the job as a superhero. Almost like an origin story, sort of in the same style as Batman Begins. Our hero fails on purpose to further his growth later on. That's my only explanation I forced myself to believe because otherwise this still makes no sense to me. And maybe there's one more nitpick I have with this upcoming shot. It's right near the end of the film when the Fib is destroyed. I totally understand that this is a parody of Michael Keaton's Batman, the whole blink once and he's gone idea. But in this scenario, I really feel like it's not hard for LarryBoy to hop a couple steps back just to get that dramatic effect alone. Especially from this angle, so you can't even see him. Overall, guys, this movie is so good. It's only 30 minutes long, but it was really setting the standard high for VeggieTales. This is one of the many classic shows that every single fan goes back to when they think of LarryBoy, especially this first episode. Most people I talk to now are bigger fans of the sequel, LarryBoy in the Rumor Weed, which I can understand as well. That is also a very good one. But this one just stands out to me just a bit more because I think the plot is a bit more original and the Rumor Weed kind of copies the Fib plot. And also as a side note, I think it's also really smart that the team of Big Idea decided not to bring the silly song segment into these shows because LarryBoy stands more on its own. I think it's pretty obvious to tell that. They very much feel like their own spin-off shows, which I guess they kind of are in a sense. I definitely know the backlash or just the critiques overall were a bit harsher towards this one because lots of kids were scared of this one, including myself. But I don't know, call me crazy, I think that element actually makes it age better. And in my opinion, it's the most cinematic VeggieTales, as far as the direct-to-DVD shows go. The cinematic movies are also really good too. I'm just thinking more in this catalog overall, especially in the earlier shows. This one is the top dog. Anyway guys, thanks for watching this video. LarryBoy and the Fib from Outer Space is honestly my favorite show in the VeggieTales catalog, I mean. There's so much to love about this show, especially for how early it was made with the CGI, the looks, and the colors, and even just the whole story overall is really tight. I really love this one a lot. NBC Universal has been on me for getting this video blocked a lot, so that's why it took a bit longer to get this one ready, so hopefully you all enjoyed it. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see y'all next time.